Good morning, all of you. Today's class is about client server structure, architecture. What are the types of client server architectures available? That we are going to discuss in today's class. Client server architecture. Client server architecture is a computing model in which the server hosts, that is the server computers, delivers and manages most of the resources and services to the client to be consumed by the client. So the client server architecture is having a server computer and a client computer. The server computer delivers and manages most of the resources and services which are to be consumed by the client. So the server delivers and manages the services and resources. This type of architecture has one or more client computers connected to a central server. Underline the point, a central server over a network or internet connection. So this client server architecture has one or more client computers connected to the central server over a network or internet connection. There will be a server, central server, which is accessed by all the clients connected to the internet or network. This system shares computing resources. So this client server architecture in this model shares the computing resources, which are all the computing resources available connected to the internet that are shared by this architecture, this model. So this is what client server architecture diagram. See, in this, in the middle there is a server and there are 4 clients connected to the server. There are 4 clients connected to the server. It may be an internet or network, local area network also. So here the client, 4 client machines are connected to the server. So the server is a centralized one. The client gives request to the server and server responds to the request accordingly. Client server architecture is an architecture of a computer network in which many clients, which may be located remotely, in which many clients request and receive service from a centralized server. So that is what I said, it is from centralized server. So there will be a centralized server. From that only the client will request and receive services from the server. Client computers provide an interface to allow a computer user to request services of the server and to display the results the server returns. Servers wait for requests to arrive from clients and then respond to them. Always the server will wait for the request which will come from the client. When a request comes from the server acts accordingly. What request is coming, based on that request the server gives the response to the client. A server provides a standardized transparent interface to clients so that clients need not be aware of specifics of the system. What are the specific of the system? The specifics are the software and hardware. That means here the client no need to worry about the software and hardware which are used in the server. The server can use any type of software and hardware. The client no need to worry about that. Its job is, the client job is, it has to request for a service. When the response comes, it has to receive the response. That's it. No need to worry about the software and hardware specifics of the system, of the server. Clients are situated at workstations or on personal computers, while servers are located elsewhere on the network. So location where the clients can be located. The clients can be a workstation or personal computer, but the servers are located anywhere on the network. Usually on more powerful machines. So the server machine will be a powerful machine which will have very good configurations. Example for the client server architecture: a client computer can be running an application program for entering patient information. We have taken medical example, entering patient information, while the server computer is running another program that manages the database of the patient, in which the information is permanently stored. So the database of the patient information will be stored in the server. Many clients can access the server's information simultaneously. So the data in the database which is located in the server can be accessed by any number of clients, and at the same time a client computer can perform other tasks such as sending email. So the client can access the server for any data from the database. At the same time, the client can work for some other thing. For example, it can send an email, or it can browse something. Characteristics of a client server architecture. Clients and server machines need different amount of hardware and software resources. So the client and server machines need different hardware and software resources. Client and server machines may belong to different vendors. For example, the client can be from a web browser, Mozilla Firefox. The server can be from a web browser, Google Chrome. So different vendors can be possible for the client and servers. It need not be the same vendor for client and server. Horizontal scalability is there. That is, increase of the client machines. When the client machine increases in the network, horizontally it is scalable. That is, horizontal scalability is there. It is called horizontal scalability when the client machine increases. When the server machine increases, it is called vertical scalability. That is not a number of servers, migration to a more powerful server. If you have a less configuration server, so that server can be migrated to the more powerful server having very good configuration, very high configurations. This is called vertical scalability. A client or server application interacts directly with the transport layer protocol. So we have You might have studied already computer networks. So in that the layers are there. You know that in that transport layer is there. So the transport layer plays a vital role in the client server architecture. The client or server application interacts directly with the transport layer protocol to establish the connection, to establish the communication, and to send or receive information. So in order to establish the communication between the client and server, the transport layer is important. And for sending receiving information also, transport layer is involved. The transport layer protocol then uses lower layer protocols which are coming under this transport layer. Those lower layer protocols to send or receive individual messages. So after that, the transport layer protocol itself makes other layers to send or receive individual messages. Thus, a computer needs a complete stack of protocols to run either a client or server. So whatever the protocols are required for communication by the client and server, all the protocols must exist in the system. A single server computer can offer multiple services at the same time. A separate server program is needed for each service. So, a single server computer can offer multiple services at the same time. Even though for each service there will be a server program, there will be a separate server program for serving that service. Now, coming to types of architecture, we have three types of architectures: client server architectures, one tier architecture, two tier architecture, and three tier architecture. First, we are going to discuss about one tier architecture. Here, all client server configuration setting, user interface environment, data logic, and marketing logic system are existed on the same system. These type of services are reliable, but it is very difficult task to handle because they contain all data in different variants, which are allotted the replication of entire work. This architecture also contains the different layers. So this diagram explains about one tier architecture. See, in this diagram, client computers are there and file server is there. Consider the local area network through which the clients and file servers are communicated. The client machine communicate with file server. For example, if a client needs a file from the file server, it requests for the file which is needed with the name of the file. So the file server receives that request and it gives the response by giving the required file to the client. This is how the one tier architecture works. Now coming to two tier architecture, it provides the best client server environment that helps to store user interface on the client system. User interface on the client system and all the database on the server system. So the user interface is stored in the client system The database is stored in the server system in two-tier architecture. Business logic and database logic are existed on the client, otherwise server, but they are required to be maintained. So they can be located, the business logic and database logic can be located in client side or server side, but wherever it is located, they are required to be maintained properly. When data logic and business logic are gathered on the client terminal, so I said the business logic and database logic can be located in client or server. If the data logic and business logics are located in the client terminal, then it is known as fat client thin server architecture. The client is a fat because the client becomes fat because the data logic and business logic are located in the client. That is why it becomes fat. So it is called fat client and thin server architecture. If suppose the business logic and data logic are located and controlled by the server machine, then it is known as thin client fat server architecture. Now the server becomes fat because the business logic and data logic are located and controlled by the server machine. That is why the server becomes fat. So it is called thin client fat server architecture. So this is the diagram for two-tier architecture. So there is a client tier and there is a database tier. So the client tier and database tier are communicated together. If the client needs any database, the client requests the database from the database tier, from the database server. The database server responds to the client by giving the required database. Client and server machines are connected directly incorporation, because if client is firing any input for the server terminal, then in between should not be any intermediate. So there should not be any intermediate between the client and server. It delivers the output with fastest rate and to ignore misunderstanding between the other clients. If there are more clients, it delivers the output to the particular client in the fastest rate so that other clients will not be misunderstood. Example for two-tier architecture: online ticket reservations program, in which two-tier architecture is used. Online ticket reservation. What are the benefits of two-tier architecture? It is easy to design all applications. Maximum user satisfaction. All the users, maximum number of users will get satisfied here. Implementation of homogeneous environment is there. And the two-tier architecture gives best performance. Limitations of two-tier architecture: poor performance due to growing number of connections of each user. So if the number of clients are increased, the performance will be very poor. And security is very less in two-tier architecture. All clients are totally dependent upon the manufacturer's database. So all the clients are totally dependent upon the manufacturer's database. So what kind of database vendor is involved in that communication? That vendor has to be installed or implemented in the client side. That is what it is called dependent. Less portability is there. less portability is there in two-tier architecture. Now coming to three-tier architecture, here there are three tiers. A client tier, client that interacts with the user. Second, an application server, application layer that contains the business logic of the application. Now here in three tier, the business logic is located in the application server, in the middle layer, application layer. A resource manager, third one, which is a database layer that stores the data. So this is the diagram for three-tier architecture. There are three tiers: client tier, application tier, and database tier. The client tier handles the communications of client side. Application side handles the application layer. Database tier handles the database server. Here the middleware is required. Middleware is required. In three-tier architecture, middleware is needed because if the client machine sends the request to the server machine, then firstly that request is received by the middle layer and finally that request is obtained to the server. If the client requests something from the server, the request first reaches the middle layer, then it is given to the server. And response also, response of the server is received by the middle layer, then it is obtained to the client machine. When the server requests for when the client requests something from the server has to respond. When the server gives response, the server gives the response to the middle layer first, then the middle layer gives the response to the client. This is how it works. So middle layer is involved here, that is called middleware. All data logic and business logic are stored on the middleware. Here in this three-tier architecture, all the data logic and business logic are stored in the middleware, in the middle layer. Due to use of middleware, there exists improvement in flexibility and deliver excellent performance. Three-tier architecture is divided into three layers, as I said. Presentation layer, which is the client layer. Application layer, which is a business layer. Database layer, which is a data tier. Client machine handles the presentation layer. Application layer controls the application layer. Finally, server machine takes care of the database layer. What are the benefits of three-tier architecture? Best performed data integrity. Data integrity is best performed here. Improved security compared to two-tier architecture. Hide database structure. It hides the database structure. Whatever the database structure is available, that is hidden here. That is one advantage. It is not known to others. Limitation of three-tier architecture. The complexity is increased here. Since three layers are involved, the complexity is somewhat increased here. That is the limitation. Examples of client-server architecture. Web server is one of the example for client-server architecture. Web server gives high-performance computer system that can host multiple websites. So web server is used to host multiple websites. Here the web browser gives the request. Web browser will act as a client. Web server will act as a server. So web browser gives the request by requesting some website. That website is available in the web server. So the web server responds accordingly by giving the proper website to the client. On this server, to install different types of web server softwares like Apache, Microsoft ISS. Examples of web servers are Apache, Microsoft ISS. So these are the examples for web servers. Mail servers. Email servers helps to send and receive all emails. When email is involved for sending and receiving, then mail server is required. Here also the web browser acts as a client. The mail server acts as a server. Some softwares run on the mail server which allow the administrator to create and handle all email accounts for any domain that is hosted on the server. Mail servers use the protocols for sending and receiving emails such as SMTP, IMAP and POP3 protocols. So mail servers use these three protocols, SMTP, IMAP and POP3. SMTP protocol helps to fire messages and manages all outgoing email requests. So SMTP protocol is involved with outgoing email request. IMAP and POP3 protocols help to receive all messages. So SMTP is for outgoing email request. IMAP and POP3 are receiving all the messages and handle all incoming mails also. Then third example, file server. File server also one example for client server architecture. It is dedicated system that allow users to access all files. It works like centralized file storage location and it can be accessed by several terminal systems. DNS. DNS is nothing but domain naming server. It has huge database of different types of public IP addresses and they link with their host names. So there will be a host name. For example, if you type google.com and there will be a corresponding IP address for that. Similarly, for all the websites available, there will be a corresponding IP address. That all the IP addresses and domain names, the website names are located in the domain name server. Peer-to-peer architecture. Next, coming to another one architecture is available which is called peer-to-peer architecture. Peer means all computers which are linked with each other through internet. Peer means all computers which are linked with each other through internet. Peer-to-peer network has not any central server. Here there is no any centralized server available. Each user is capable of sharing any type of files on any peer over this network. Each user, each node is capable of sharing any type of file here. Every peer on this peer-to-peer network plays role as server as well as client. So any node in this network can act as a server as well as the client. So this is what P2P architecture. See, 3, 6, 8 peer nodes are there which are connected together and each can act as a client or server based on the request. If a request is coming, then the particular node will act as a client. If the response is coming, then the particular node will act as a server. So that's all about today's class. Thank you very much. Remaining we will see in the next class. Thank you.